Here's 8 easy tips to break any bad habit. But first, my name is Cameron Hourtovenko. I'm a 4th year biomedical biology student studying at Laurentian University. And my channel is all about my journey from being unproductive all the way to being a productivity king. And I'm gonna share a few tips and tricks along the way. So let's get into the video. So the 8 easy steps to break any bad habit is from this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book is a godsend. It has made breaking habits so easy for me and has definitely been a life changer. So before I get into these tips, you actually have to keep 2 things in mind. The first thing is you have to go slow. So humans are actually very lazy, and completely changing your lifestyle is exhausting initially. And the more exhausting the change is, the less likely you're gonna follow through with it. So you have to go slow. So if you want to eat healthy, instead of completely changing your diet, from pizza and junk food all the way to, broccoli and chicken and whatnot, the best way to do it is actually to eat your pizza and actually add vegetables into that meal. And then as you slowly go out, you reduce the amount of pizza, more vegetables, and it's the easiest way to do it. So the second thing is that there's this mindset that more productive people actually have this stronger willpower. And that's actually not the case. The reason why more productive people are less likely to fall into temptation is because they change their environment to reduce the amount of temptation provided to them. So a great example is if you eat a lot of junk food, not having it in the house makes it easier to not eat junk food because you don't have the food tempting you to eat it. For the longest time, I always thought I need to develop a stronger willpower. And sure, in some cases you do need a strong willpower, but a majority of the cases, you just need to reduce the amount of temptations you have, and that's by changing your environment. So there's actually 4 steps now to break a bad habit, and then 4 steps how to form a really good habit. So tip number 1 in breaking a bad habit is you have to make it invisible. You have to reduce the amount of exposure you have to the temptation. So when you're studying, if you often go on your phone, don't have your phone in the room with you. If you eat a lot of junk food in your house and you like to snack, do not have bad snacks in your house. Have some healthy snacks. Again, like I mentioned earlier, if you physically see the thing that's tempting you, you're more likely to be tempted by it. So the second tip is you actually have to change your mindset. You have to make the action undesirable, unattractive. So this is actually where a lot of mental comes into play. And you ever heard this classic example? People can only change if they want to. And the same rules apply here. If you want to change and get rid of a bad habit, you have to actually want to get rid of a bad habit, but you also have to know why it's a bad habit. So a good way to make something attractive is to actually write a pros and cons list. Write down the pros of this bad habit, what's benefiting you, and then write down the cons. And I guarantee you, if it's a bad habit and if it's bugging you, that con list is gonna be so much longer than the pros list. And that way it sets your mindset of realizing how undesirable this action is. So the third tip is you have to make that action difficult. You need to increase the amount of friction, energy it takes for you to go from the habit you want to and perform this bad habit. So when I study, I actually implement this thing called the 5-minute rule. So it's actually easier to want to perform a task when it's only gonna take 5 minutes instead of 30 minutes. So once I start studying, I actually find I study longer because it takes effort to get off my desk, to go downstairs, to grab my phone. It's difficult for me to get my phone because it's out of the way, it's out of the room, but if it's in right beside you, it doesn't take much effort to just grab your phone. Another example is I actually have my TV unplugged when I'm not using it. And sometimes I wanna go watch my TV, but then I see that it's unplugged. And again, it's not a whole lot of friction, but it still makes it slightly more annoying to watch TV, so I'm less likely to do it. Tip number 4 is you have to make it unsatisfying. Get yourself an accountability partner, someone who will applaud you for when you do your good habit, but also punish you per se when you do a bad habit. A good way is you can make this public. If you have a YouTube channel or something like I do, where I'm showing my journey from being unproductive to productive, and that also means showing my failures. So I'm not productive all the time, and making videos and explaining how I'm not productive is not the most fun thing, and I don't really enjoy doing it, but I'm honest, and it also keeps me accountable, and I'm more likely to actually not perform that bad habit. Another thing you can also do is this thing called a 2-minute rule. Get yourself a calendar, and every single time you do not perform the habit, cross off that day. And the rule is, you cannot perform a bad habit 2 days in a row, because if you do, then you're gonna start forming that habit again. When you see a month's calendar with a whole bunch of black X's and very little, days left blank, it is satisfying. But then when you see, let's say, a total of 7 days throughout the month where you did your bad habit, it's kind of unsatisfying, and it makes you want to perform better the next month so that you have, a consistent line 7 days a week where you have that solid X on the calendar. Okay, so we just broke a bad habit, but like I mentioned earlier, we actually have to form a new habit, because if we don't, that bad habit is more likely to reoccur. All right, so tip number 1 in forming a good habit is you have to be obvious with your intentions. You can't just be like, I'll exercise more often, or I'll eat healthier. What do you mean by that? If you're not specific, you're less likely to do it because you have more of a wiggle room within your goal. So the best way to do it is to be like, I will perform this good habit at this time, at this location. So for me, every morning when I make my bed, I put my book on my pillow so that every night when I go to bed, I'm more likely to read it. So I say, every morning, I will place my book on my pillow. You have a behavior, you have a time, and you have a location. It's very specific. And the second thing to do is actually to habit stack. So you want to attach your good habit to a habit you already do. And this makes it easier for you to perform this good habit. So every time you eat dinner, you're probably going to move your plate to the sink. But how about every time you get up from the table after dinner, you put it in the dishwasher? So now, 1, you're habit stacking eating and standing up, which is a natural occurrence that everyone does, with also adding and putting into the dishwasher. But you're also being specific. After dinner, when I stand up, I will put the dishes in the dishwasher. So again, you're habit stacking and you're being very specific. Tip 2, you need to make this good habit attractive. So you need to actually pair this habit to something you want to do. And again, this is a slow progression in order to obtain your desired habit. And a good way to do this is like someone who likes to watch YouTube, like I used to do so often, is you pair, again, your good habit with something you need to do with something you want to do. So after I study for 30 minutes, I will get to watch YouTube for 30 minutes. And again, it's a slow progression. Then you'll be like, after an hour's worth of studying, I can watch YouTube for 30 minutes, or after 2 hours, 4 hours. It's a slow progression, but pairing something that you need to do, like your good habit, and something you want to do makes it more desirable to actually perform this good habit. Tip 3, you have to make it easy. You have to reduce the amount of friction it takes for you to perform this good habit. So again, when I place my book on my pillow, when I'm going into bed, I have to grab it anyways to move it. So I don't have to reach over to grab it. I'm reducing the friction. I might as well read it. Another thing is, I used to not really eat a lot of vegetables, and that's because it was always a hassle to cut up my peppers and all that jazz. So what I did is I actually got all my vegetables pre-made. My cucumbers, I cut them up. My peppers, I cut them up. So every time I was gonna eat, my peppers were already there, and it's an easy grab. It's easy to throw on my lunch. It's easy to make with dinner. It was simple, and it reduced the friction required. If you wanna start eating apples every day, one thing you can do is, instead of having your apples in your fridge, you can actually put it on your kitchen counter. Again, when you see it, it's really easy to grab an apple. It doesn't take a lot of effort, and you're more likely to perform that habit every day. And tip 4 of how to form a good habit is you have to make it satisfying. Reward yourself. You have to actually make it enjoyable to do this, right? Just like I mentioned earlier with pairing your good habit to something you want to do, again, you can do that, but a longer span. So again, if you study all week, Monday through Friday, reward yourself with a movie night on Friday night. And now, because a new movie's coming out, let's say, the new Marvel movie, you're excited. So, okay, I am going to be productive all this week so I can reward myself. And again, I feel like the rewards itself actually become more satisfying because you work towards them. Okay guys, there was 8 easy tips on how to break any bad habit and replace it with the good habit. I know it kind of sounds, insane, and that's too easy. It shouldn't be that easy to break a habit, and that's what I thought. For 2 years prior, I've been trying to break my procrastination, to start eating healthier, to stop watching YouTube all the time, and I tried everything. But when I found this book and it gave me those 8 easy tips, my life has changed drastically. I've become a lot more productive, I get a lot more things done, and again, I am more satisfied in life. So definitely follow those 8 tips, at least give them a go. If they don't work, they don't work, but I guarantee you they will work. And if you guys like this video, hit hit the like button. And if you have any ideas of potential videos you want me to make, put in the comments below. If you guys like videos on productivity and want to follow along my journey from being an unproductive fool to a productivity master, then hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you're notified every time I post a video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.